Hello everyone, welcome to Miss Lily's music class. Today I want to talk about my baby music class. My baby music class includes as little as 2 month old to as big as 5 to 6 year old, as big as 6. Like I don't have anyone in class who's older than 6 years old. And when I tell people that I teach those babies music, what I usually get is, does it really work? Can 2 month old learn anything? Is it gonna affect their livelihood later? So, to answer your question, I brought two research studies that was done on babies with music. The first research was done on 5 month infant. They played this lullaby for 1 to 2 weeks constantly, 1 to 2 weeks constantly, and then they didn't play for the next 8 months. After the 8 month, they brought those babies back into the lab, and then they played two songs. One that they've heard and when they're 5 months old, and then another song that had the same rhythm with the previous song and the same words from the previous song, but then the different melody from the previous song. So the babies heard the first song and the second song. Which one do you think they had longer attention to? This one. So the thing that you learn from this research is that even when they're 5 months old, they remember. They hear it, they remember things that they heard when they're 5 months old. The second research was done on 11-month-old babies, and then they played this lullaby for 1 to 2 weeks constantly for 1 to 2 weeks. But the method of delivering this song was different. They had three groups. The first group was those songs were delivered by parents, mom or dad. The second was delivered by a doll or stuffed animal that play the music. The third is the same music delivered by somebody that they didn't know through the screen. How they checked the result was pretty interesting. So they made a video of two people singing one after the other. The first person sang the song that they heard before, the lullaby that they heard for 2 weeks, and then the other person sang something else. And then after they sung their songs, both person grabbed a stuffed animal 1 and stuffed animal 2. Yeah? And then baby had a choice of picking stuffed animal 1 or stuffed animal 2 in front of them. And then they chose stuffed animal 1 more than they chose stuffed animal 2. Which means they chose the animal that they could associate with the person who sang the songs that they knew. And then the other part of the research was that, remember those three groups, parents group, stuffed animal group, and then the stranger person singing group? All three groups were consistent about grabbing stuffed animal number 1, but having the longer attention span to the person who sang the song that they knew was a little different. The parents singing group had the longest attention span when they were looking at the people, strangers singing song that they knew and that they didn't know. So remember those questions earlier? How does 2-month-old learn anything? Like, how does it affect their livelihood later? Is it going to affect anything? In a short answer, yes, it will. But in a sense that you should remember this. It's like asking a mechanic, if I change my engine oil, would it make my car run longer? For sure. And that's the thing, engine oil is not the only component for the car that makes your car go longer. Same thing as a baby. If you do music as a baby, it's just one component that can make those babies, learning process easier and fun. But that's not the only thing that they need. It is one thing that they could have, which will help them for sure. But would it make them next Mozart? But then would it help them to learn how to count well, have a better rhythmic structure, help them read better? Yes, definitely. And then I brought another research that had to do with the premature babies. One premature baby wing had no music, and then the other premature wing had a classical music going. And for the premature baby, they have only one goal, which is getting bigger, like getting heavier. And in order for you to get bigger, you have to eat more. For the premature babies who were exposed to classical music constantly, had a steady heartbeat, which apparently helps them to eat more, which makes them bigger, faster, and stronger than the other babies who weren't exposed to the classical music. So that's another interesting fact. And then another one is for the mothers who just had a baby through surgery. One group of mothers were exposed to no music, and then the other group of mothers were exposed to classical music constantly. And then the group who were exposed to music constantly, classical music constantly, felt like that they were ready to get discharged earlier than the other group. But make a note, physically, there was nothing different between people who had music and then didn't have music. But emotionally and mentally, they were prepared to get discharged earlier than the other group. So that's an interesting fact. And what that tells us is that music cannot physically heal us, but it can heal us mentally and emotionally very much. So sing more to your babies, and then I'll see you next time.